Good afternoon, LEC community. Thank you for joining me for another Latinx Educator Awards nominee spotlight. As you know, my name is Susana Lisa Raras, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Latinx Education Collaborative, working to increase Latino representation in K through 12 classrooms. I'm really excited because, first of all, we had two nominee interviews in one day with me, which means the Latinx Educator Awards cycle this year has been cracking. And we are here with a good friend of ours, someone who you will recognize as one of our educators. We're here with Génesis Rósales. Génesis, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited that I'm nominated again. So thank you so much.
Yeah, congratulations. You may remember Génesis was with us earlier this year for our Afro Latinx panel. Génesis was also nominated last year in the Latinx Educator Award. So, we've become real good friends, Génesis.
Yes. Oh, hold on. I think I clicked out of that. Okay. There. Yes.
That's okay.
Thank you so much.
Remind us, Génesis, who you are, what you do, where you are, and your journey to where you are.
Yes. So once again, my name is Génesis Rósales. I am a teacher, high school Spanish teacher in Baltimore City Public Schools at Baltimore Design School. I've been teaching going on 7 years. And I've taught in Indianapolis, DC, and now Baltimore. So I've been here the longest. I'm finishing up my 4th year at Baltimore Design School. And I started teaching I saw bad experience, and I decided I wanted to make an impact. I was originally in fashion, and was speaking at a career fair, decided to stick around, and realized that there was a lot of things that needed to change in education, in regards to, the resources that we give our students, the teachers that are in the classrooms. And that's kind of why I like doing like professional development or just teaching in general, whether it's my peers or my students.
That's awesome. Hennessy's, we were with another career changer earlier with Yancy Merkel out of Jersey, and she moved from her business work to education, and you from fashion to education. I always get real excited about that. Like, yes, like we stole you onto this side
Right.
of the world. And your work is being recognized, right? Because you were nominated this year for Educator of the Year, specifically for the Impact and Personal Growth Award. I do want to read to you and for the audience to hear. Keith and Amanda, I'm assuming maybe your colleagues or friends nominated you. And some of what they said: I'm nominated Baltimore Design School's high school Spanish teacher, Génesis Rósales, for Educator of the Year. She's an energetic, caring, creative teacher who's always willing to share her ideas with her colleagues across languages. Her classes are highly interactive and creative. Over the years, many students have commented that they continue their Spanish studies because of her. Besides her regular teaching duties, Hennessy serves as a World Language Teacher Ambassador, World Language PLC Facilitator, and this year she also served as a facilitator at the Baltimore City New Teacher Institute. Girl, Hennessy prides herself in teaching about culture in her classroom. One topic that she tends to focus on is the Latin American identity and the African diaspora. Hennessy is an amazing educator. I believe she deserves to be recognized for her hard work and passion. And then the next nomination said Hennessy always goes above and beyond to try and better her professional growth, to better help and further her students' education. First of all, when do you sleep? Second, second is, what does that mean to you for people to be recognizing the hard work you're doing?
It definitely feels good. I always tell people, don't tell me what you write down.
Yeah.
Like if they tell me they nominated me or something, or
Yeah.
never because I know that I do a lot, just like from like leading things or attending meetings or whatnot. But I just like to give back in general, like whether it's like, oh, email me if you have questions or contact me if you want a resource. So I mainly do it just because I enjoy to do it, because when I was prior to fashion, I was like in business, and I was in management, fashion management. And so that was just like the manager in me, like, is always like willing to like help, others. So, it definitely feels good to hear, people seeing my hard work. So yeah. And lately I don't really sleep as much, but I feel like once I got it down, then I can finally, catch up.
Yeah. Well, you know what? When I was talking to Yancy earlier, I said, she wears a lot of hats like you do. And I was
Mhm.
like, if this is not a point of people to reflect on teacher pay and how it needs to be better, because many teachers are like you, right? Where you do the after school clubs and the tutoring and the even the weekend soccer games and basketball
Mhm.
games, right? And so um, this is why I love the way we're doing nominations this year and making sure to showcase as many as we can so that people see how much work teachers do outside of instruction. And of
Mhm.
course, the instruction itself is a huge, amazing part of what you all do. So thank you for your commitment to all of that. Now, data shows that Latinx representation in schools matters. I mean, we talk about it a lot at the LEC. Students who have teachers who look like them are more likely to graduate high school. I mean,
Mhm.
we could go on and tell all the stories that you and I have heard from students. What impact do you see yourself having on your students at your school?
I definitely think that um, just having someone there that, for the most part, at my school, we don't have a lot of students that are Latinx. We do have some, but even just like being able to educate my students on, um, like whether it's like culture or different communities or different people that don't look like them or maybe people that do share similar backgrounds and just don't know it. I think is very important because most times you talk to students and like they'll ask you like, oh, where are you from, like Puerto Rico, or they'll say like Mexico, or they're like they only know like three places. So I just love educating them on different aspects of our culture, and not just the language too, because I obviously want them to leave with the language, but one of the main things I want them to leave with is cultural competence, or how we can connect it to our own communities here in Baltimore. um, so I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to do. But even just having students fall in love with the language, or I always say like, being like global ambassadors. That's like one thing, or global citizens, because I want them to travel. When I taught in DC, we actually had more opportunities to travel with study abroad being free for us there. But here it's not. But I still want them to like be open to it, whether it's like bringing food in or going to the festivals or just sharing videos. I think that's one thing that like my students like get excited about. Like I brought one of my old students back, a little cookie from Puerto Rico, and he was like, "Oh, I love this!" Like and like I try to like bring things back for some of my kids because I want them to like think about those places, and later on when they do have the finances to like be able to actually travel and see the world the way that I've been privileged to.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because Yancy had a similar answer before, right? About like just bringing awareness
Hmm.
to the different parts of the world, to different languages, to the fact that, a lot of us tend to be siloed and keep to the culture that we're a part of or the neighborhood that
Hmm.
we're a part of. And so for students to have teachers to go above and beyond to say, I may look different than the typical teacher. So let's explore that, right? Let's explore
Hmm.
your identity. Let's explore my identity, right? So, I mean, you do a lot. Your teaching already is super tough. You go above and beyond, and it shows. I mean, people nominated you and are seeing you, right? So,
Hmm.
through all the hurdles and the things that are tough, what keeps you going?
I would say, I mean, obviously can't impact all of them, but
Mhm.
probably just being able to impact, even if it's just one kid or a few kids, or just seeing those faces come back after I've taught them already, and
Mhm.
like hearing them say how much they loved my class, or how much fun they had, or like they'll like come and tell me what like food they tried recently. So like being like having them open up, like just being open minded when they take my course, and then even afterwards being more open to things instead of making like certain comments. Like one of my students came up to me and was telling me that they were talking to one of our custodial workers. She's like, I tried. And so like
Mhm.
it meant a lot because usually I'm the only person that speaks Spanish outside of, our custodial workers at our school.
Mhm.
And so it meant a lot for them to like, say like, hola, ¿cómo está? Like
Oh,
something so small, definitely makes, a huge difference. So I think like just hearing them talk about their experiences outside of my classroom and how been able to connect to my, what I've taught them just really like means a lot to me, and building those relationships, obviously, with my students. And I have, one student that ended up becoming a Spanish teacher, or she's doing her student teaching now. And I taught her a while ago. Like those are like the little things that, like get me excited. Because usually, it's always the Latinas that are in the classroom, teaching Spanish. So seeing someone that is not Latinx, like pursuing, world languages means a lot, because we definitely need other people interested in the language, and getting excited about it just the way that, that we get. So.
That is super, super cool. Actually, Sofia Gonzalez, we had her on yesterday. She's one of the nominees as well. And she said the same, that one of her former students was going back, or was now in the process of now teaching. And it's like, that's maybe one of the things I envy about high school teachers. I was a sixth grade teacher, and so I see some of my kids again, but the fact that they're so close to being, adults and pursuing a career, that is really cool to see that come full circle. And obviously, I mean, I'd venture to say that part of that started with you, right? Some of that love for the language and the love for teaching. So again, it's no wonder that you were nominated for this year's Latinx Educator Awards. Congratulations again. We actually, like I said before we came on, we're working with our committee tonight to look through all of the nominations, and hopefully very soon we will announce our winner. So any final thoughts or words for our community?
I would just say, I mean, for those teachers that are out there, definitely stick with it. Because I know there's probably, some new teachers that may listen to this, but, it's hard at first, maybe like your first or second year, or not every year is going to be the same. I was just telling my coworker this yesterday. You're gonna, get some kids that, drive you insane, but it's all about like routines. That's definitely one thing, in building relationships. And like sticking with whatever you say you're going to, do, whether it's calling a parent or, bringing something back, whatever. Like, it's about building those relationships and actually sticking to your word. And like I said, it's not easy the first few years, but once you get it down, it gets easier, which is why I have time to do certain things now. And actually, give back some of my knowledge. Because I made sure that the first year was not my best year, but my like second and third year, when I was getting it down and committed myself to actually like perfecting my curriculum or whatever it is, and try new things, I was open-minded. I think that that's kind of what made me the teacher that I am now. And I would say like this is one of my best teaching years, because I finally have down, like I feel so confident about like what I'm teaching, and I feel confident about like my interactive notebooks that I'm doing this year. Like I'm sticking to my word, or not like having like favorites or doing certain things. Like I'm very like strict, and then afterwards, after I teach you, by all means, I'll be your friend. I'll be nice to you. But I think that's one of the biggest things that I try to tell new teachers is just, stick with it. Whatever rules you set at the beginning, keep them through, especially at least through the first semester. And then you can slowly start, changing things up. But that's what's going to get the kids, to like turn in their work or listen or behave in your class, is building those bonds and keeping those routines.
I love that advice. I mean, I know it's cliche, but consistency is key, especially when you're talking about youth and kids, right? It's being consistent. And I love that advice, and to stick with it, right? Because you're right, the first few years it's a struggle. But once you start getting the hang of it, and you start building some parent relationships in the building, some teacher relationships in the building, things get a little easier. So Génesis, again, congratulations for your nomination. You'll hear from me very, very soon, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Bye, everyone.